Hey everyone, welcome to the second half of our E3 coverage 2015. My name's Phil.
I'm Chris.
Today we continue on the trend of talking about
E3 news and press conference info.
We cover the rest of the press conferences we didn't get to.
Yep.
And
some miscellaneous games.
Some miscellaneous games that did happen to have floor stuff that we wanted to talk about.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all. And if there's any games that we didn't talk about because either we missed or forgot about it, but you want to hear about it, hear our opinions about it, what we thought, please email or tweet us at NotFunPodcast.
Yep.
I'm Chris again.
My name is still Phil.
All right, so EA, we probably don't have to spend as much time on it.
No.
There's maybe 2.5 games that I wanted to talk about. So the first thing they announced was Mass Effect Andromeda, which is the new Mass Effect. You can call it Mass Effect 4. They don't want to.
But it will be called that.
Yeah, people are going to refer to it as that.
Yeah.
So it takes place, new protagonist, new characters, new solar system, the Andromeda solar system. I don't think they showed any real gameplay other than that montage that was at the end of the cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
But all the old stuff that we know about, same races, N7, you got your Mako's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't done anything wrong yet.
No.
But they haven't done anything that tells me I need to have this game.
No, yeah, we talked about Mass Effect 4, like we did a whole speculation portion. I don't know, I'm still in the belief that they should have just let it end, but I know EA can't let anything end.
No, they need money.
They need money. Yeah, they're hurting for money so bad. So I mean, we'll see. It could be great. It could be a nice little spin-off, but yeah, like I said, they haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But they also haven't done anything to make me pre-order the game. I haven't been like, fuck yeah, I need to get back into Mass Effect.
Right.
I mean, Mass Effect 3 I still haven't beaten because it's just hard for me to play through it. Just because I feel like, as I've said multiple times, that it's the weakest of the three.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, everything that's come out leaked-wise says that this is more of a return to the first two games.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, once it comes out and everyone's like, it's great, then I'll jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
I don't think, at this point, I do not need to get this game day one.
No. And they have to show... It can't just be somebody telling me it's returned to form. They have to show me that it's returned to form.
Yeah.
If you're going to show me a montage that's going to be action-packed, whoop-de-doo, that doesn't tell me anything. You could, once again, just put scripted events in where it's just once you walk past this garbage can,
exactly.
you go in a chase scene.
Yeah.
I want to, show me the boring stuff that isn't fit for a stage. Show me somebody leveling up a character that dies 12 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
Because I did that.
Yeah. Also, new Need for Speed. It's kind of a reboot called Need for Speed. Looks fine. Looks like a Need for Speed game. I haven't really been into racing games for a while, so it looks like the games that I'm used to playing.
Yep.
Star Wars, The Old Republic, new expansion.
Yep.
MMO. Looks fine.
Yeah, neither of us play it.
NBA Live 16.
Don't bother.
Yeah, the only thing is they tried to do a stage demo, which I do not believe was real, but you can use a cell phone camera to now capture your face into the game,
Sure.
which, if you're paying attention, the guy's face was not lined up properly, and the image they showed on the screen was not the same as the one they captured.
No.
And then also, he was already in the game like a million different characters, so
Yeah.
obviously they had planned it out ahead of time.
Did they not learn anything? That's the thing.
From 2K16?
From 2K.
15?
Yeah. Where it's just this is how easy it is to scan your face. Look,
Right.
I'm an NBA player. Just no, that's not. You can't just rely on this.
And people's crappy cell phone cameras,
Yeah.
too. Not all of them are 15 megapixels.
I understand that you want to immediately get into the action. You want to show that. But don't fake it on a demo. Just say, that you were able to scan your face
and show some faces of people on
faces.
Stage or something, you know? Yeah.
Like, this was Mike when he took his picture. This was Donna when she took her picture. She's in the game.
Yeah.
Don't, like, pretend to take a picture
that
on
stage. That it takes 10 seconds.
And just be like, look, now I'm in the game. No, you're fucking not.
Yeah.
There's an option that has to be like, upload. We're uploading. Please hold. Like, show me a goddamn loading screen.
Like, the longer it took, the more I would believe that it was real.
Yeah.
And the more if you'd be like, okay, you can adjust your face once you put it on there if it's not exactly centered, or if you want to change some features, you can do that like that. I would like more than just like, hey, cell phone selfie, and now it's in there.
Yeah, perfect.
Also, then your graphics in your game can't be that good. If a cell phone picture,
picture. Bring back the Xbox Vision Cam.
Right, exactly. A new game they announced, Unravel, which is like a yarn platformer. I think they saw the Yoshi game they announced a while ago and decided, hey, that's cute. Let's do our own thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks cool. It looks fun. It could be okay.
Yeah.
Anytime EA comes out with new IPs, they're actually pretty decent until they decide to milk them for everything they're worth. Plants vs. Zombies 2, Garden Warfare 2. So, kind of expected. This time...
Do you think that game needed a sequel? I haven't played enough of it to say. Do you think Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare was so great or great enough that, like, yeah, I want a sequel to this?
I will say yes, it was good enough to warrant a sequel. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that the younger crowd that it was not exactly geared towards, but I feel like would get more out of it.
Yeah.
Deserve a sequel.
Okay.
Because it was the first game. There was plenty to do there, but like now they've expanded all that. So they've taken a different route. They decided the zombies have taken over suburbia now.
They XCOM'd it.
They XCOM'd it, but obviously this was in development before XCOM was announced.
I know.
But it is cool. So now everything looks zombified, and you know the purples and the gravestones and all that stuff. So now they're the ones.
The plants are on the offensive.
The plants are on the offensive. So there's brand new types of both. Plants and zombies, but it's cool to see the reversal. And when you do what used to be the garden ops or whatever, where you're protecting your garden and planting little plants to do it, now it's all like zombie stuff. So you like spawn new zombies to protect a gravestone or something like that. I mean, there's new enemies, there's new characters, and they said they're going to continue the trend of having free updates. Like the last game, I think had 2 or 3 free giant DLC updates with new game types, new enemies, new achievements, all that stuff. Yeah. So they said they're going to continue to do that. So I think it was only like a $40-$50 game at launch anyways.
Yeah, it was a cheaper game.
So I think that's fine. I mean,
yeah, I'm not I don't know, I'm not against them coming out with another one. I feel like
because they sort of took the franchise and made like a Kinect game and like all this other stuff.
And part of me is just bitter because I really like Plants vs. Zombies, the original PopCap tower defense game.
Yeah.
And then I feel like everything since then, even Plants vs. Zombies 2 tower defense, has just been awful. And I feel like they're taking this that wasn't a franchise and they're just like, we have to keep milking this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, really? Like Garden Warfare 2? Like, I played it for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was alright, but I probably would have put 10 hours in and then been like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's surprisingly fun. It's fun to play as the different classes. It's fun to the level up system. Like, oh, you got to kill 3 things with your chili bomb, and then that way you level up and get new packets and things like that. I don't know if this is not a day one buy for me. Neither was the other game, but like I said, I think the people that the target audience for this are going to enjoy.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, I think kids are probably the audience for this game, and if that's the case, then yeah, like here's a little cutesy little shooter.
Yeah, like I'd rather them play this than like Black Ops 3.
Yes, for sure. I mean, if we're pulling out like what would we rather have them do? Yes, this then like don't make them strangle their dog. As Mega Man.
And then the big one for me at least, Mirror's Edge Catalyst. So. You stopped?
No, yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, that's out of the whole EA press conference, this was the only one that I really cared about.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's it's an origin story of Faith, so it takes place before the first game, but it seems like there might be some overlap there.
Yeah.
Haven't really seen any gameplay, just a little bit in that montage, but I mean, we're at the point in gaming too where it's hard to tell if it's pre-rendered cinematics or if it's actual gameplay.
Yeah, it was easy to tell a long time ago, and now we just kind of have to, and that's why I think where like a lot of the outrage comes in. It's just like, you promised me it'd look like this.
Yeah.
Just like, well, look at a slight tweak there, but
Right. But the thing about Mirror's Edge is there's like no HUD.
no.
So you can't really tell.
Yeah. Unless all of a sudden they give you a HUD in this game,
Or
and
if you
they're like,
see,
here's
if you see like a
health bar.
button prompt or something.
Yeah.
But I think that there's like a little mini montage that came out at the end, and I think that was all gameplay.
Yeah.
The gameplay they show is kind of not the way that I play the game. I play the game never using guns,
Yeah.
none of that stuff. Just run, avoid everything. So I
That's
know
how
that
you're
doesn't
supposed
make
to
for
play it.
great trailers to just run and jump over some guy's head rather than steal his gun and kick him out a window. But it looks good. All it has to be is Mirror's Edge again, and I would buy it.
Yes, this is the one game, like, innovation, do not innovate this
Well,
game.
I think they're just going to improve some of the controls. You know,
Then,
just
okay, yeah, that's fine. But
like-
I'm saying, like,
yeah.
Mirror's Edge is, I feel like, very close to, like, a tipping point. Where it's like, it was really, really good. Really, 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 really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they start, like, being like, oh, yeah, like, we're going to lean on, like, there's going to be different guns
yeah,
you
there's
can
going to be like
use.
40 different guns.
Yeah, it's
or-
just like,
yeah.
then all of a sudden, like, nope, you lost me, I'm out. Or,
Yeah.
you know, just like, oh, well, you know, like, here are parts of the level where you kind of have to fight. Like, no, I'm out. Like, you're
Yeah.
just give me Mirror's Edge. You can update the graphics, you can tweak the controls, you can, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Make new levels, but, like, don't change. What I'm basically telling EA to do is to have some idea of what made a game popular, and they don't know that, so that's why I'm kind of scared.
I mean, EA is not the one that's developing it. They're just
No,
publishing
it's DICE, which did
And-
the first game.
Right, and I think DICE understands that. I think I'm speculating this is why they did it as a prequel, because if it was a sequel, everything would have to be bigger and one up each other, and like you'd have to have new features and new all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's a prequel, it's like, oh, she's just learning how to do these things, so you're not expecting her to have a bunch of new abilities. You can be like,
Yeah.
okay, you just running and jumping. This is how you parkour. Just do that.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited, but out of all of the games I'm excited for, I'm also very scared.
because if they mess it up, it's going to break your heart.
But yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
this is, again, like, I don't have a lot of day one games, but this is up there with, I mean, it's not as high as Fallout 4,
Yeah.
but it's certainly up there on the list, and, like, it would kill me. Like, if all of a sudden it just, like, this is a parkour first-person shooter. This
Yeah.
is Brink the game.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Also.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they finally showed some gameplay footage of Star Wars Battlefront, which, yeah, I mean, it looks great. I mean, not to insult it, but it just looks like Battlefield Star Wars, which is kind of just the opposite of the name it has. Like, it looks like there are other games. Like, I'm sure they use the same Frostbite engine and all this other stuff, but it just has the skins of, like, you know, Luke Skywalker now.
This isn't the first Battlefront game.
No, I know.
They did a bunch of Star Wars Battlefronts, and I
Yeah.
think they're just, like, bringing it back. But yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's just like, here's a giant battle.
Like, it looks fun.
Yeah.
Like, if I played it, I'm sure I would enjoy it. And it's cool
Yeah.
to see, like, you know, the AT-ATs, and it's cool to see, like, Darth Vader strangle somebody while you're just in the middle of a fight. I'm sure that was highly scripted, and it's not going to just randomly happen.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's going to happen like that in the game.
I think, and this is very speculative, but I feel like they say that, like, a player will randomly get these hero classes.
Okay, and then, like,
so,
one
like,
turns into Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, like,
and,
one's
yeah.
gonna, like, turn into Darth Vader, or, like, respawn as Darth Vader, and
Yeah.
then, like, you get all these cool superpowers, but... So it's not gonna be, like, a map of 20 Darth Vaders running around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I've played the old ones, and they're fun, and they're just kind of, you know, little fun, little class-based big battles.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's all, how long can that interest you? Because, you know, you play, like, 10 huge battles, and you
And
have
it's all-
fun, and
yeah.
it's against bots.
But also, it's like the original trilogy, so it's like we've done all this before. Maybe this is the best version of that, but, you know, there's only so many times that I could see like the Battle of Hoth.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, they announced their other sports titles like FIFA and Madden, and it's all the same. That's when I kind of started tuning out, because I
Yeah.
didn't care, and it's the same thing every year.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we've completely innovated the way you pass in Madden. No, you haven't.
Oh, yeah. It's still the A button.
Now there's finally practice mode. Oh, yeah, that's been in NCAA football for like 15 years
Yeah.
now.
We finally took a feature that's been very popular in another game, and then
Yeah.
we've poorly implemented it into our game.
Yep.
Bring back vision cones for Madden. That was a great innovation.
Yeah. So EA is a big enough company that they, I guess, have warranted their own press conference. But as a whole, this was the weakest one so far out of the first three.
Yeah.
The first two I thought really, did it the best they could. And E3, just because they have so many properties and I don't need to see this. I don't need to see all this stuff about the sports again. I know you got to show it.
Yeah, I mean that'd be like the thing like Activision has to show like a Call of Duty kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, EA's known for its Madden and its FIFA, and I know it has to be in there.
Right.
But like you said, there's nothing you could show me that if I wasn't already excited about a soccer game that you're not going to show me holy shit, they got grass now.
Right.
What am I going to do?
The ball's metal and you can hurt people.
Yeah. EA bored me. Besides Mirror's Edge, that's all I cared about. I'm sure people who are really into Star Wars Battlefront will disagree and just be like, no, that was the main point, because I know they've been clamoring to get that to come back for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me it was a kind of a snooze fest. Speaking of snooze fests,
yeah,
what's the next one?
Ubisoft.
Yeah, I think that was a snooze fest too.
It was actually okay. You skipped that one, you said, right?
Yeah, I skipped it.
I
just looked at the highlights of what games they showed.
Yeah, so the first one they showed off, which I was actually really excited about, maybe the biggest surprise for me, in a happy surprise, was announced a South Park Stick of Truth sequel. And it's called South Park: The Fractured Butthole. It's hard not to hear the pun when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
So this is like a quote unquote direct sequel to the other game. In the beginning of the game, you're still wearing the same costumes. You're still referencing what you did previously. They make fun of themselves. They make fun of the fact that it was barely, they said, an RPG.
Yeah.
And then it sort of turns into a superhero game. They go and put on their superhero costumes that existed in the TV show, like Coon and Friends and Professor Chaos and all that stuff.
I mean, I still got to get to the South Park RPG.
Yeah.
But I'm on board.
But I mean, for when it took so long for them to make that first game, it took like 5 years. I'm sure they had to deal with companies closing and changing hands and all that stuff. But the fact that they have it down to a science, where of course Trey Parker and Matt Stone are working on this too.
Yeah.
They can just
Well, because they already have all the tech built, and that's the thing is the hard part for them was trying to get a game that looks like the cartoon,
which they
nailed.
So
now that they have that, they're just like, shit. All we really got to do is write and voice, the new game. We don't really have to redesign what's Cartman. You know, they don't have to do all that hard.
And the fact that they're able to do that on a weekly basis for the show, write a show and have it come out on air 3 days later. Obviously, they're good at creating good stuff fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from a creative standpoint, it's super easy for them to just hey, let's write this. Yeah. Let's do all the voices ourselves. Let's get this done in a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they announced the Crew, some expansions for that, some new DLC. They also Trials Fusion DLC. They showed some more of The Division, which still exists.
Yeah.
And they announced a new PvP mode called Dark Zones. And it's coming out March 8th, 2016. So I always thought this game looked awesome to begin with when it was announced, 14 years ago?
I feel like it's been a long time.
It's been a couple years.
I it's
a new franchise for Tom Clancy. I like the world. It's post-apocalyptic, but it's also like a shooter. Yeah. And it's you got squad things and you have open world stuff, and it's been playable on E3 floors. And it's good. It looks like it probably could launch this year. The reason it's not coming out this holiday is because there's way too many other competition coming out, so that's why they pushed it back to the spring.
Yeah.
But I hope it's good. I want it to be good.
Yeah, no, I like most Tom Clancy stuff. When he first comes out with a new IP, I guess.
Yeah.
I like them. I mean, I liked Ghost Recon. I liked Rainbow Six. I liked when he did fucking End War or whatever it was.
Right.
He's not fucking writing that shit.
Right.
He doesn't care. But I mean, when they use his name, it's usually okay.
Yeah.
So I was excited about this game a while ago. When, like you said, when I think they showed it in the 1999 E3.
Yeah, it was for Y2K.
Yeah, back when they were still promoting it in a launch game for the Nintendo 64. But, I mean, we'll see. It still looks good, but I'm not sold because they keep pushing it back. And I think that if they're going to use the competition, there's too much competition.
Yeah.
It's like, well, a lot of games are going to be pushed back to that same quarter that you're in now. So you're going to once again run into like other games that don't want to launch at Christmas. So are you going to push it back again, or are you just going to eventually say like, no, we're okay here?
Yeah. Then they announced they showed some gameplay footage of the game they announced earlier. When they first announced this game, this is the way that it was described, and this is what it is. So it's an open world game where you're in charge of a gang. You go around this open world city and build up your gang to take over other territories. You can grab vehicles on the street and take it wherever you want. Like you can level up your base. You can drop in, drop out co-op, and basically you're trying to take over the city. What does that sound like to you?
What's it sound like?
Yeah.
It sounds like Godfather.
It sounds like Saints
or
Row
Mafia
or like
Saints Row. It's like one of those games, but I know it's Assassin's Creed.
It's Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Yeah. I will say that I like the time period. All we've seen, I think, we saw gameplay a little while ago, but all they showed at E3 was story cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
Looks great. Looks awesome. The problem is I do not trust this franchise anymore. I don't trust Assassin's Creed with them coming out with one every year, with them changing studios. Unity looked great too. Unity looked like it was going to be different and back to how it used to be awesome. Turned out to be,
the problem is like all the Assassin's Creed games are like hit or miss.
Yep.
Like 2 was great, and then 3
wasn't.
No one liked.
4 was good again.
4 was good, and then it's just like okay. Unity
then we got
was
spin-offs
okay,
and
then Liberation I heard was great for the PSP or whatever it was, and then just like. But it wasn't good when they re-released it. Just like it's so like you can't just be like I pre-order every Assassin's Creed game because you've been burned more than you have enjoyed.
Yeah, no matter how awesome it looks like in the demos, or the gameplays, or the trailers, or any of that stuff, I will not believe it until the public has it for like 2 months.
Yeah,
and then I'll decide whether or not I want to buy this game.
This is Assassin's Creed games are now to me just like this is when I see it in a bargain bin.
Yeah.
Like I just bought whatever Brotherhood for whatever like $4 because I'm just like oh yeah okay for $4 I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
I don't ever justify spending 60 on an Assassin's Creed.
Then they announced a new IP for Honor.
It's a sword game.
Yes, it is a medieval sword fighting game. So it's
Bushido Blade for the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, it's you play as either a Viking, a knight, or a samurai. Obviously, those did not exist at the same time. I don't know the story. All we've seen is a gameplay / cinematic trailer where it swaps between each of them seamlessly. Like it's showing that it just transitions. It's not like that's how the gameplay works.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know. Was the world really clamoring for a sword fighting gameplay? I don't know. Like that already exists in other games. Like you got that in Assassin's Creed. You got that in other
that's the thing.
Rise. So why do I need just a game that just does swordplay?
I'm intrigued because I guess sword fighting could be super awesome if you make it good. But at the same time, like you said, like this isn't something that's never been done before. It's not like, hey, we're the first to make a sword fighting game. It's just like, yeah, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Is it just going to still be... Is it going to be the same combat where it's like X does all of your sword fighting attacks and D counters?
Yeah.
It's like, cool. So you've made just the fight portion of Assassin's Creed.
Right. And then another surprise for me was Ghost Recon Wildlands? Yeah, that's what it's called. Wildlands. Wild Style. No. Did you see this at all? Did you see this trailer or see anything about it?
No.
Man, so it starts off as a cinematic trailer, and I kept going like, is this real life? Like I thought it was live action. The beginning of the trailer, I thought it was like, okay, they're going to show, close-ups of these things, and they're going to go into gameplay. The whole thing, it said in game. Then on the screen, I was like, holy shit! Like this looks amazing. Like not only graphically, but what it is.
Yeah.
So it's a massive open world shooter that focuses on player choice. They said so. You have just this giant map. I don't know where you are. Let's say Mexico, right? And you can choose to do missions in whatever order you want. You got your little squad, either AI or like real life companions, co-op buddies. And you go in. You have a situation. They give you this big map and a situation, and you get to decide how you accomplish that goal. So one of the ones they showed off was okay. there's this big drug factory and there's this guy with a white cowboy hat and you have to get to him. So you can either, find a way to snipe him through a window. You can go in guns blazing. You can kidnap him and interrogate him for information. You can destroy his drugs so the cartel comes and kills him. So it's kind of like Hitman meets
Ghost Recon.
Ghost Recon. Yeah.
Which,
like it looks...
the way you're describing it sounds great.
Yeah, I think they give like 5 or 6 different ways you can go at this just one task they have. And it's got all the Ghost Recon stuff. Like you can, plant charges, you can, cut the power, you can repel, you have gadgets, you have tactical stuff.
Yeah.
So like I said, based on just what they've shown, graphically it looks awesome, but more importantly, the gameplay. Like Ghost Recon is a franchise I've kind of backed away from. Like
they made some poor choices.
Right. I liked the original ones on the original Xbox. I liked a lot. The first Ghost Recon on the 360 was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Then the original demo for...
Well, they did what was it, Advanced Fighter 1 and 2, and I think 2 was pretty crappy.
Yeah, 2 wasn't as great. But the one that you ended up buying recently...
Future Soldier?
Yeah, Future Soldier, which first looked great in the demos, and they spent a year or two completely rehauling it and made it kind of weird and not great. But I never played that one. That's kind of what made me decide, like, hey, I don't need to be part of this franchise anymore.
I mean, again, I bought it because it was cheap, but I heard it dropped in price real quick.
Yeah, I heard bad things about it.
I just remember it being it comes out at $60, and then literally a month later, it's already down to $45. So even without me listening to what the public had to say, they already were just we gotta ship these copies.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bode well. So I'm glad I have it.
Yeah, but like I said, this looks awesome. I don't need every game to be open world.
That's
but
what you're gonna get though.
Well, I mean, I think it works in this instance where it just gives you, okay, here's let's say 15 scenarios. Throw them in whatever order you want. Plus, I'm sure, hey, if I do this mission, it'll open up that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there is some sort of story thread that goes throughout the whole thing. But just, I like the whole, Hitman, decide to make it an accident or, set up an awesome assassination or go in guns blazing. I like the choice that you have to just do whatever you want. And, if you create a little squad, hey, you and 2 buddies in real life, and you just go in and hey, let's do a mission or 2.
Yeah. We
just have all these things available to us.
Yeah,
we could just do whatever, or we could do the same mission 10 times.
It could be really great.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not skeptical because I think, for most part, Ghost Recon has been pretty decent. It's just one of those things where you're just they're doing a lot that they've never done.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of scary.
This is definitely a departure, but I think it's something they needed to do.
It's not just a squad-based shooter, so that's what kind of worries me, is just now it's not really Ghost Recon. You could have just named this something else, and I would have had a little bit more faith.
Yeah.
Than you telling me, this is Ghost Recon Mexico City Adventure.
Well, yeah, but it's it's the same thing. You could have called the new Rainbow Six something else.
Yeah.
But I think it shares so many of the same things, plus they own the rights to their IP, that people would be like, hey, why are you coming out with a tactical shooter and not naming it Rainbow Six?
Well, Rainbow Six, not to get into, Rainbow Six is your SWAT team.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing in Rainbow Six Siege makes sense that a SWAT team would go, but if I'm planting evidence and
well, I don't think you're
blowing up meth
I don't think you're doing that, but
that doesn't
Ghost
seem
Recon is always okay, it's a small squad doing Black Ops. In this case, at least the demo they showed, it was an anti-drug task force. So you
they
have
should bring
to go
back the game Narc.
Yeah, right.
That was a good game.
So you get to decide what you want to do. I don't think there's ever an instance where you don't at least blow up something. The way the way that it you have the cartel kill him was you blew up all the drugs, so then he was out of money and they came and killed him. But you're at least going to kill one guy or kidnap somebody or knock somebody out or something that you're going to do that makes you feel like you're a Navy SEAL basically.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you're selling me on it.
Okay,
so if it's bad, I'm coming to you.
I would suggest that you go and watch the trailer after this.
Okay.
And then just next, the smallest one, I think, of all the things was Square Enix, I guess, or Enix, however you say it.
Yeah.
We're going to say this every time we have to pronounce it. Had a smaller press conference. I don't know. I actually didn't watch it. I just saw the news that came out after it and watched all the gameplay they released or trailers they released.
Yeah.
3 games that I wanted to talk about, though, were Deus Mankind Divided. Looks cool.
Yes.
Like just like Human Revolution, is that what it was called? Was the last one?
That's the game I wanted to add to this.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that one looks
Human
good.
Revolution was pretty well received.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good. It was just cinematics. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
It looks fine. It looks good. Then another Hitman game right now, just called Hitman.
yeah.
Once again, looks awesome.
Yeah.
And
you really liked Absolution,
I really like Absolution.
and I liked what I've played of Absolution.
Especially the beginning part. Like some of it gets kind of like story wise gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I just like Hitman games. I like to be able to go in and be like, okay, I want to see how many different ways I can do it. Like the like Chinatown level, I played like 7 different times.
Yeah, that's a great level.
And like I was like, I want to see if I can do. I want to see if I can trick this guard, or if I want to see if I can poison this guy, or I want to see if I can, repel off the Chinese lanterns or something like. I wanted to see everything I could do, and it seems like so they released a cinematic trailer for this game, which was pretty cool, and then they released a gameplay one too, which I got more out of because they basically are rewarding you for finding different ways to do the same missions. They're not, I wouldn't say forcing you to replay it, but they kind of are.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, okay, they're going to program 10 different ways to kill this guy or, assassinate him. They want you to experience it, and it's good. Like, I'm glad I have that incentive because, after doing it in Absolution, 10 or 15 different levels, then I'm like, okay, now I just want to get to the end of the story.
Yeah.
So that's good. I mean, I don't know. Hitman Blood Money was probably the pinnacle for me, but I really did like Absolution, and this looks like more awesomeness.
Yeah, I mean, Hitman will always be one of my favorite series because for the same reasons that you kind of listed, it's just Hitman is a game that's more fun to play multiple times.
Right.
Even if you just pick out your favorite level and you're just like, how many people can I kill before I get caught?
Yeah.
Or like stuff like that. Like to me, like the sandbox that I create in Hitman is more enjoyable than just giving me a sandbox game. Like.
Yeah.
I can kill as many people as I want in Saints Row, whoop-de-doo-dah, but it's not the same as just like, can I get away with it in Hitman?
Exactly.
So like, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to eventually play Hitman Absolution. I liked, like, I was in on it, like, I loved Hitman 1 and 2. Like, my brother got me into those games, and then I followed the series ever since. And I had contracts, and I had Blood Money, and
and they said they've overhauled and expanded the what are they called? I think just contracts mode, where you can play a level yourself with your own like modifiers or stipulations, and then challenge your friends to do it. Like, hey, in this level, the boss that I'm supposed to kill might be this guy, but instead I want to see how fast I can kill this janitor or something like that.
Those are just fun, like creating like. And I never even took them seriously because I was just going for achievements. But just be like, and just make like the cook, the main guy you gotta kill. Yeah. He's just like in the kitchen by himself.
Right. And you could like poison the meat or something because he tries it while he's eating it, like while he's cooking it, I mean. And this they showed like him like drowning some guy in a toilet that was not like, the main enemy. Also, it's cool. They've sort of added more options of what to do within the level. Like it's not like, oh, I'm perfectly hidden or I gotta go guns blazing. Like, he was wearing a disguise, and most of the people would fool, but like the supervisor of these guys, he's like, hey, who are you? Why are you here? Then he had to kill that guy, but he killed that guy fast enough that it didn't then set off all the alarms. It wasn't like, oh, his cover was busted, therefore he had to go guns blazing or start over.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you have sort of wiggle room where you feel like, okay, I can play this. If I have my skills good enough, I can do this without having a perfect run and still find a way to get to the end. Like, that's fun too.
You could kind of do that. Like, I remember
there was one with the cops. I don't know if you got to that level, but you're dressed up as a cop, and if you can, most of the cops you can fool, but if you go like the chief, he knows that it's you. You got to stay like not too close to him.
Yeah. And I remember just the first level where you're in like the penthouse. Or whatever it is, like the tutorial. Like, if you dress up as a guard, but you get too close to certain guards, they'll be like, "Hey, wait!" Like, you can't. And if you walk away, they'll like follow you and be like, "What are you doing? Like, come back here!" Like, there's kind of like they haven't set off the alarms, so you might be able to lure them away and then kill them and stuff like that. So like, there's some of that, but it's good to see that they kind of worked on that, where it's not just like, "Well, alarms raised, now you have to kill everybody." So, yeah, I'm okay with another Hitman.
Yep.
As long as it doesn't have Vin Diesel as the voice and likeness, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And then the probably maybe biggest announcement, just because it was unexpected, was Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts
People
3 's
knew it was coming, but
knew it
like
was coming,
they
but-
didn't think they would see anything. Like
No,
that was
they
something
thought
that was
that it
not on
wasn't gonna be brought
everyone's
at E3.
radar right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it's a Kingdom Hearts game, so
Yeah,
it looks
people are
good.
excited for it. That was one of the few trailers that Caitlin actually wanted to watch when I talked to her about E3, and then she basically was just like, "Well, you have to play the Kingdom Hearts games now," because
Yeah.
I've never played any.
Oh,
of
really?
them.
Okay.
I love Final Fantasy, and I'm okay with Disney, so like it seems like it'd be a perfect match to me. But it's just like a series that I never got to.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all from them. That's all I really have to say about them.
Yep.
And then we got Sony's press conference.
Sony had a lot of stuff on my hype list.
Yep.
Last Guardian,
Yeah, Last Guardian was the first thing they showed, I believe.
first thing I think.
Obviously, super amount of hype on this. When he started explaining what game he was going to show, people started cheering.
Yeah.
They showed some gameplay.
I think they've shown this gameplay before.
I think they have too. Everybody freaked out and said how good it was. I'm like, that's the same level that we saw before.
I could be wrong.
Before it was, I don't think it was gameplay they showed of it. I think they leaked gameplay of that, but I think this is what they showed as, like in a cinematic sort of, like not you couldn't actually control anything.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was not impressed with this.
I wasn't necessarily impressed with what I saw, but more that it's actually like, because this is a game that's been quote unquote dead for multiple years now.
Yeah.
Like, they showed it 5-6 years ago, and then it's never been at another E3.
Yeah.
And then like so much turmoil. I love the original creator of this. Like Shadows of the Colossus and Eco were incredible games, so I was really excited for Last Guardian. So I'm excited by comparison.
Yeah.
What I saw didn't make me go like, yes, I need to buy it. It was more like, oh, this game is still existing.
I think that's why people got excited, because if you were to take this on its own, like this is the first time they announced it or anything, like if you just look at what they showed, I thought it was not good.
No, it looked like it would play the exact same way like his games play.
Right.
It's a very distinct style where it's like it's your puzzle,
but it's
platforming.
But for me, it just felt too constrained. It felt too small. Like you knew, okay, there's like a 4x4 square platform out there, and you got to get to it and then get back to it. And the way whoever was playing the demo, kind of bothered me too, because they went out of their way to try to make it feel like less scripted, more like things were happening. Like when the bridge was collapsing, and it would slowly just take 2 steps forward and then wait for the bridge to collapse, and then take 2 more steps as the rest of the bridge collapsed. It was trying to force tension and action that wasn't really there in the gameplay. Same thing, like they kept doing the slow motion jumps.
Well, I don't think that was him.
No, that wasn't him. That's in the game. No, I'm saying I think
the
game is designed badly, but I'm saying the guy that was controlling it had to go out of his way to try to make it dramatic when the gameplay wasn't. And just like the whole, anytime you have to jump somewhere, it'd be like a slow motion jump because the Guardian's going to catch you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, okay, I'm jumping 40 feet in the air and I'm a little kid. Of course, he's standing there. The only place I can jump, he's going to catch me. And after the first time, it's not exciting. And what bothers me, too, is like you don't have the option to make the jump. Like the second he leaves the ground, it's slow motion. So that it's going to be 15, 20 seconds before something happens. It should have been like the second or third jump that he did, where it misses you and he's got to catch you with his tail. Like that would have been better if you jumped in real time. Then as he's missing you, it's slow motion. Then you're like, oh no, am I dying now? I'm in slow motion because I'm dying, and then he catches you with his tail. That would have been better.
I agree.
I just felt like this game's been in development for 6 or 7 years. You show me a demo, and it just seems like gameplay from PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like what they showed didn't necessarily impress me. It was just the fact that something was showed. So I have confidence that the whole game is not going to be like that. That it's not just going to be like every jump is slow mo. You're going to get caught.
But how do you not like? That was like a couple-minute demo. How do you not have that completely fine-tuned and perfect at this point? If you're going to show gameplay, it's got to be spot on to how the game's going to be.
They're handling
I know.
it well. It's just one of those things where just like. It was more just like, they have it.
Right, it was the hype that brought you through it, not the actual what they showed.
Yeah.
So I hope it turns out to be good. I want this to be a good game, because I want to play this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be everything.
It's going to be good.
No, I'm saying it will be, if you enjoyed the first 2 games, you'll enjoy this. If you're going into this based on, like, I hear the other two games are great, but I've never played them,
Yeah.
you will be severely disappointed. And that's kind of how, like, I think this will be like, it'll be like a critic's darling. It'll be like 8, 9 out of 10s. And then a lot of people will pick it up because they're just like, I heard that this game's great, and a lot of people are going to be disappointed, and like, it's, you know, whatever score on Metacritic is going to be like 4s and 5s.
Yeah. Also, they showed some Street Fighter V, which I guess is a PlayStation exclusive. The thing about Sony's press conference that bothered me was for the most part, they had some solid exclusives, but none of which are coming out this year. And then they showed a lot of third-party games that they were pretending were exclusives.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people came out of the conference and be like, oh my god, like, Call of Duty looks great, and like, Assassin's Creed looks great. I was like, yeah, but there's a multi-platform.
Yeah.
Like, people said, like, oh, they won like the E3 press conference because they showed like Destiny and all the other multi-platform games. I'm like, no, you can't pretend.
But that's
like
the thing. Like, who wins E3 is,
I know, it's always stupid.
Is always stupid
Yeah.
unless like one group completely falls face flat. Like,
Right.
you know, whenever Sega came out a couple of years ago and
Yeah.
was just like, and you can get the Genesis today, and
Yeah.
you know, whatever, you know, blew up in their face. I like. If you were to ask me like who won Xbox or Microsoft or Sony,
Right.
I'd be like, Sony listed, if I'm just going based on games, showed more games that I'm interested in, but if you look at what's multi-platform or not,
Yeah.
like, then it's, you know, a draw.
Right.
It's whatever. Just like, yeah, this looks really great, but I know it's coming out for Microsoft.
Yeah, like everything Microsoft showed except for Fallout 4 was an exclusive, and everything else they showed was coming out like this year too. Like 90% of like I think 50-50 of the stuff came out this year and next year,
Yeah.
where a lot of this stuff does not have a release date for Sony.
No, I think Sony
They said 2016, but it was almost like there was a question mark after that
Sony
for Last Guardian.
Sony definitely did the hype train.
Yeah.
If you run
It
down
was
the
fan
list,
service too.
It was fan service.
Yeah.
You look at and we'll get to them, but like Last Guardian and Final Fantasy VII and Shenmue 3, like those are games that just like everyone's going to come out and they're going to be like, holy shit, boom, mic drop. Because those are, Last Guardian for one is a game that everyone thought was dead and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like there's that. Final Fantasy VII is a remake that everyone's been clamoring for, so they're finally giving into that. And then Shenmue 3 is the most requested game, like, of all time.
Yeah.
And
Can we talk about that right now, Shenmue 3?
Yeah.
But they did a Kickstarter for it.
Here is the word on the street, is that originally Shenmue was a $67 million game.
Yeah.
They opened up a Kickstarter, and it's basically partnered with Sony, where Sony was basically, if you hit your Kickstarter and prove that many people
There's an
still
interest
want
in it.
Shenmue 3, then we will help fund the rest of the game. So it's Sega's project, but at the same time, Sony is going to be a backer.
That's what bothers me. Like I'm like, Sony's like a real dick in this situation because they're like, yeah, we want to give you some of the money if you get most of the money from the fans, and then we get all of the profit.
Well, I don't. Yeah, well, Sega's still a company.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, Sony is like, hey, we're only going to give you money if you give us more. Like, they're like, you got to go find funding somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're going to get the same percentage on the back end, but they're like, we want you to make this a better game than it already is, even though we're giving you like $70 million.
Yeah,
so like, get more money from the fans. We want you to get double money from the fans, basically.
But it worked.
I know it worked, but I'm just saying, like, I think Sony's not cool in this situation.
I'm gonna disagree, mainly because I want Shenmue 3.
Yeah,
And
that's fine. That's fine.
But here's my thing: is I don't think anyone else, any other company, whether it's Microsoft or Valve or whatever it's gonna be, would offer to help make this game because the first two were such financial disasters.
Yeah.
That Yu Suzuki, the guy who created it, and Sega were basically like, we're going to sit on this because if we sold it, someone would clearly buy it and make it.
Yeah.
But like, no one's going to touch this game. So I think for Sony to, even if they're going to be dicks and they're going to be like, we're going to get all this profit, for them to
think they're just taking less risk for more reward.
Yeah, and that's how I imagine that they would do that. And if all of a sudden, if Shenmue 3 turns out to be this huge hit, everyone loves it. But I'm saying, like, it's not just that people buy it, because I think a lot of people will buy it, but people actually like it. Then I think Sega has more confidence that they might be able to do Shenmue 4.
No, this is good for Sega. I think
Yeah.
Sega is doing the right thing here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think Sony's being a little bit of a bully right now.
Yeah,
Because they have all
I
the
agree.
money. So
And that's exactly what it is. It's just
Yeah.
like, we will give you, let's say it still costs $67 million.
Yeah.
You raise $2 million, and that shows us that there's enough people. That's what their goal was $2 million.
Yeah, and it got there in 9 hours. It's
Yeah.
way over that at this point.
Yeah, it was, last I checked, it was at $3 million.
Yeah.
And that was just today. It's still 31 days to go.
Right.
But they're basically like, you hit $2 million, that'll show us that we can give you then $67 million to go turn around the game. Who
Yeah.
knows if that's what they did, but that's just what rumor on the street is. It's like, Sony is willing to back this, but only if you show that it's financially
Yeah.
acceptable. Because they don't want to give you $67 million, and then it becomes the Sega white whale that it was last
But
time.
how can you announce that at your press conference if you haven't decided to make it yet? They were just getting more money out of the fans. That was the thing.
Yeah.
They were just, riling up the crowd. I don't know. I just didn't like the way they handled it.
No, but
I like that it's existing. I like that people are backing it. I like that it's being made. I'm just saying. Like,
yeah.
From Sony's part, I
It's
think
weird that a Kickstarter made an E3
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
But I also I agree. I think Sony's being a bully, and the reason they reserved that stage space is because they know
Yeah.
that it's going to get funded because it's on that.
Yeah.
But I imagine if they didn't have that stage space and they just announced it, some other time, I don't think Shenmue 3 would draw the...
I think it would. I mean, if the Banjo-Kazooie, ukulele made so much money in so little time.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I just think, I don't, besides releasing it in, a GameSpot or...
But they could have announced it at the conference, just not on the main stage during their press conference.
But that helped it.
No, it
hit
certainly
the
did.
Fastest.
But I just can see through what they're doing, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And then, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, another huge fan service thing. That's a thing people wanted for a long time.
Yep.
But no, really, this, I don't know how long they've been working on this. They didn't really show anything.
Yeah, they just basically showed what I imagine is the intro movie.
Yeah, and the logo.
And the logo.
people
And they
started
said
cheering.
And they said that at the... I can't remember what conference. They're actually going to... This conference, they're not talking about it, but whatever the next one is...
Gamescom or whatever?
Gamescom, they're
Yeah.
going to release the actual name of the game, because it's not just going to be called Remake, and they're going to give you more details. Don't get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy. I'm very excited. But there are things that are coming out that make me very scared. That they're saying that, they're going to... This isn't just a straight remake. That there are things that they are going to change. And that's fine, that they want to bring it into minds. But here's the problem. Everyone who is excited about this game is excited about for nostalgic reasons.
Because they love exactly how the old game is.
They love exactly how it is.
Yeah.
So if they're just like, hey, we're gonna update the graphics, we're gonna keep the story the same, but we're gonna do the combat like Final Fantasy 13 or whatever it is, something like that. You are immediately playing with fire because all those people you're like, well, we want to bring new people in.
Yeah.
Those new people don't give a shit because everyone who wants it because they just want just give me a higher graphics and do the cutscenes over again. So I think that they're very dangerously
it's a hard
playing
line
with
to walk.
the
You don't know
series.
what to do. The bigger the fan base, the more rabid they are, the harder it is to do anything
Yep.
without them getting upset. No matter, even if you did the exact same thing, half as many people would get upset that you didn't change anything.
Yeah, no,
So
it's-
I think if you're gonna remake it, if you're going to make it this huge undertaking after all this time, because just games in general and gameplay and all that stuff has changed so much,
Yep.
if you're going to remake it and call it something different, that tells me that they're probably going to change some things.
Yes. Oh, they are. They've already
And I
announced
think
that
I
it's not
think
gonna be
they
a straight
should,
remake.
because you still have access to Final Fantasy VII, the original one. You can.
Go back
I think
and
you
play
should
it.
change it.
Yeah.
I'm not for the just now this is 1080p 60 frames a second, same game that you could have bought 2 years ago.
No,
I like that. Hey, the more effort and time and hey, we redid we made cinematics and redid them from the ground up. Great, I want to see that.
I agree. All I'm saying is that they have to be prepared for the amount of backlash they're going to get.
Yeah.
Because if they that's what the scary thing is, that's going to impact the sales, and then all of a sudden they're going to let's say they make some major changes and then Final Fantasy VII Remake, whatever it's going to be called, doesn't sell as well as they think it's going to be. That's going to scare them off from taking endeavors like this, which granted it should, but here's what I'm saying, let's just take the turn-based. That is an antiquated battle system now.
Yeah.
No one does it. unless you're making an homage to old games, or that's, you're making an indie game, whatever. So I agree that they need to update things. You can't just like port it and just be like, hey, it's still going to be turn-based.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they like make it where you're just going to, you only control Cloud and the computer controls all the other characters, and it's going to be, Final Fantasy 15 and 13's battle system where everyone's just running around killing, and it's just basically this third-person hack and slash or whatever they want to do it.
Yeah.
So many people are going to be off board.
I don't think they're going to do that, because the reason they chose 7 was for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think at least they're going to attempt to take all the aspects that people like and keep those or enhance those.
Yeah.
But it can't just be like Final Fantasy 13 with the Final Fantasy 7 story thrown on top of it.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, depending on what they change,
Yeah.
they're either going to really
Yeah, I mean, they got their work cut out for them. This is a hard thing to do.
It's easy to get everyone excited about a trailer,
Yeah.
and you can add voice cast, and you can redo cutscenes, and everyone can get excited about that. But when it actually gets to when the controller's in your hand,
Yeah.
what you're playing, that's where it's going to be decisive. Because, like, you can every conference you can show a new cutscene, and people are going to freaking wet themselves.
Yep.
They're going to be like, it's fine.
All you have to do is show the logo. You don't have to
Yeah.
show a cutscene.
But the minute they're just like, okay, here you go, you're going to play as Cloud, and they're going to be like, what the fuck am I doing? How do I cast fire? Like, what am I doing here? Like, oh, well, that's, you gotta go do this. And they're just be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm out.
Also, I mean, they started talking about like Spotify for like 5 minutes. I don't know if you saw that.
Tuned it out.
And then they talked about like their internet TV stuff. Totally tuned out. Like that was,
Yep.
I really was
tuned
like,
out
hey,
Morpheus.
do not care. Yeah. And then they talked about Morpheus. We'll just get those out of the way now because I did not care about that.
Don't care.
There's a new game from the Little Big Planet guys called Dreams.
Boof.
Yeah.
Here's what I assume this is. It's just like, hey, we are sick of making games.
Yeah.
Because we're all artists.
Right.
So we made an art thing.
Yeah.
Like, all it sounds like is just like you mold something and then you add animation to it and other people can visit it.
I know what you're
There's
saying too, and I totally feel like they're almost like, hey, if this doesn't succeed, we're kind of happy because then we don't have to make games anymore. We can go back to just doing like, wall paintings or something.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be in the business of making games. They feel like they sold out as artists because they're making games.
That's the thing, like, Little Big Planet was great, and this is, I'm in favor of that studio doing something new, but when I watched this thing and people got excited for it and talked about it, and I was just like, this I would never use. Never in a million years. Because one, it seems to me, if you are not an artist, your shit is gonna look awful. So then, what are you doing? You're basically giving me a new Mario Paint, and you're just going to be like, here you go, make something. And I'm going to be like, I can't.
Yeah, I'd rather have like Mario Maker. I don't want to have to create the worlds. I want to have like a whole subset of things that I can place wherever I want.
It could be real cool to
also
visit
known as
people.
Little Big Planet.
Yeah, it could be real cool to visit other people's stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, I would... And that was the thing with Little Big Planet. Like, I never made my own levels. I downloaded, like, high-rated levels where I'm just like, yeah, this guy fucking knew what he was doing.
This guy obviously spent, like, 50 hours recreating, like, another game level.
Yeah, but I was never just like, I'm going to do something. Because it'd just be like, I put a block here and you jump over it.
Yeah.
Like, that's... Whatever. It looked absolutely awful to me. It brought down the conference.
Yeah, like, there was this whole lull in their press conference that I was just like, bleh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess they showed off some Destiny stuff. They showed off the Taken King, which is the big expansion previously known as Comet. The most expansive DLC so far, obviously. They're charging $40 for it, so it better be. But there is the Taken King edition, which is $80. You get the game, you get the previously released DLC, and this one. So $80 right now buys you just the DLC. So to get all that and the game and stuff, if you haven't bought the game, that would be a time to do it.
Yeah.
But to charge another $40 for the people that already paid like $100 just for the base game and the DLC, you're pushing it. You better have a lot of stuff.
They added one new map pack, and you can get a marijuana leaf to put on your gun.
No, that was Call of Duty.
Yeah, I know. Still same company.
I know. But so you have obviously this big new story. You're dealing with Crota's father, Oryx. He's pissed that you killed Crota in the raid from the first DLC, so he's coming back now with a vengeance. He's kind of created this new enemy class called the Taken. So he has the ability to sort of possess other enemy classes. So I guess part of the story is you're going around to like the Cabal and things like that because they're like disappearing. Because he's like stealing them and turning them into these weird Taken things. So they're kind of like weird variations on the other enemy classes. They kind of glow. They got this like the darkness sort of inside of them. They sort of twitch. They're kind of like horror movie things. They sort of twitch. They can do a thing where they do the fast jump forward, sort of teleport. Like horror movies, like Japanese horror movies.
Yep.
And they all have they look different. They have different abilities. Like some of the Thrall now can split into multiple Thrall. This is just stuff based on what they've showed. To beat him, I guess you have to go through the steps.
You have to be him.
Yeah. No, you have to get these old powers that Guardians used to have, and this is their way of introducing new subclasses for each of the different, races. I don't know what you call them. So that's cool. So now the Titan has this sort of solar hammer, which he can either throw or do a lot of melee damage with. Warlock's got lightning abilities, lightning storm. He gets hit with lightning, then he can shoot out lightning from his hands, which then can chain to other enemies. And the Hunter has a gravity bow, so it's a bow and arrow that once you hit an enemy, it sort of sprays out a connective web to other enemies that holds them in place. And also, they can't use their abilities and stuff. That stuff seems cool. Obviously, there's a new strikes, new campaign missions. Finally got a new raid. Has to do with Oryx, father of Crota, and it's he's got this big giant ship that you have to work your way through and deal with puzzles and secrets and all the same stuff we've seen before, and then also more. So, yeah.
Yes.
That's Destiny.
$40.
It's crazy that they released it this soon after. They've announced it this soon after the last DLC. I think that's fine. It's not coming out until September.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But it seems like if they continue this, they can't continue this much longer. I think there's going to be 2 more smaller DLC packs after this big one that's going to deal with the other 2 races, and then I feel like this is like a 2-year plan as far as releases go. So by the time we get to they're calling from September on year 2. So once we get to September year 3, I think everything's going to be out. I think this is going to be a huge, giant, fun, good game that you could probably buy for $60. So
to me, it's just mind blowing, how much money they got to be making off of this sucker.
Yeah.
Considering how many people play this, the game and now pay another $40 for it, and people are like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'll pay another whatever."
People that I play this game with cannot wait to throw their money.
No, I know.
At this. And they're like, "Yes, I want more. I want another raid. I want all this stuff."
And they're probably I imagine if they made game for me, they were just "Hey, we're gonna make Monkey Island. We're just gonna keep expanding it." I'd just be like, "Fuck yeah, just more insult sword fighting. Let's do it."
Right.
But, because it's not a game I'm interested in.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous.
Me, it blows my mind.
Just Call of Duty map packs for me. 3 maps for $15, every other week.
Yeah,
you're paying $200 to get basically map packs for that game. Yeah.
Oh.
But I don't know. It looks good. There's so much content that they've been coming out with that by the time all the DLC comes out, I think this is more than a base game. Obviously, they cut stuff out.
It's already more than a basic game.
So,
now,
I think
$100.
I think $100 total once everything's said and done makes sense. But to charge $20-$40 every couple of months on top of that is crazy.
That's the hard part to swallow. Is granted, if you put the hour into dollar ratio, you're still making back your time,
for sure.
Because $40 is great. Are you going to probably spend more than, 20 hours in there? Yeah, you might.
Probably, yeah.
So you think, okay, so I paid $1 for 2 hours. That's fine. That's a good conversion. Plus, you've already, you've already played more than 100 hours and you've spent, or less than $100, whatever it's.
Yeah, $80.
I don't know. I'm getting everything confused. But whatever. The point is, when all said and done, you're going to put so many hours in that the price is going to be worth it. But for someone, if you were just going in and all of a sudden you're like, here's a game, it's $100. It's all the DLC in the game. It's $100 for a game?
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Even maybe $200 worth of content and it's only $100 now?
Yeah.
Still Woo, you're asking a lot.
I know. And it's right now too. I'm at the point where it's like I have to make decisions on what I want to do in Destiny because it really is taking up all my. There's so much to do, even though things are now on for the most part a weekly reset. There's just so many new things to do now.
Yeah.
It's like I spend like 3 full days just playing Destiny, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to do other stuff.
I need to play other games.
I'm trying to play the Gears of War beta. I'm trying to play new games for the podcast. So like. I'm like, okay, I gotta sacrifice this. I'm not gonna do the raid this week with this character. I'm only gonna do Prison of Elders up to this level. And then finally they ended up with Sony finished their conference with Uncharted 4. So we knew it was coming. We knew it was there. It looks like Uncharted. I haven't played through enough of the games, but it really seems like Nathan Drake is a dick. Like he's kind of an asshole in this gameplay.
I feel like he's kind of always been.
He
started.
He's supposed to be like sarcastic, snarky, but then they just turned him into an asshole now.
Character arc.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not at all against the Uncharted franchise, but I'm not like super excited for this game. And we've seen stuff from this before too. This is not new.
I have the Uncharted games, but I've yet to play them. So to me, it's just like, oh, this is just another game.
And it's just, I don't know, it's too scripted for me. There's too much moments that are like, yeah, these are great in demos, but then when I play them, like, oh, you're pretending like this is the way gameplay is going or what's happening. But no, every time I move over here, this guy's going to say this and move over here and like all that stuff.
I feel like. And this is, of course, everyone can yell at me if they want, since I haven't played a lot of Uncharted.
Yeah.
I feel like Uncharted is like what David Cage and Quantic Dream tried to do, where it's just like, this is
a playable movie.
A playable movie where it's like, Uncharted's really fun if you have your significant other or somebody in the room and they're watching you play because it still looks great and there's all these great moments that they're necessarily not playing that you have to go through. But at the same time, like, if you just take it as, like, a game's just like, other games have done this better. Other games have done shooting better. Other games have done platforming better. Other games have done puzzles better. So it's not super awesome, but it's, like, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, well, like, Last of Us, I think, is the same thing. I haven't played through the whole thing, but I think it takes that to even the next level, where it really is you're just playing a story. The story's great, and that's why everyone loves it. But just taking gameplay, you don't really do that much in the game.
Yeah.
So, that was Sony. So I guess the last big conference, I don't know if it was either that big, but was Nintendo.
We could sum this up in one game, Mario Maker?
Yeah, Mario is basically what Nintendo is always about. He's everywhere, of course. We got Super Mario Maker, comes out September 11th. That's weird that they chose that date and decided to promote it like they have. They should have just said September, but obviously they're Japanese. They didn't really make the connection, or they didn't care.
No. Or they're just trolling Americans.
Right. Also, there's like Mario Tennis and blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
But sort of a surprise was Amiibos are coming to Skylander.
Just 2, I think, right now? But I don't know why we're even discussing it. Yeah, they're made a deal with Skylanders, so now Donkey Kong and somebody else.
Yeah,
can
and
I
saw like an 8-bit Mario that's going to be one too. So which is weird because they're competitors.
Yeah,
but I think they're like, hey, let's pool our money here and make it so people can buy both of our figures for both games.
Yeah, it makes sense for them to partner up because you think of somebody who might not have a Wii U, but wants to. But likes Nintendo characters, now they can buy them, or vice versa. It's like I have a Wii and I really like this shark monster or whatever the hell Skylanders are.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's weird, but it's not the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Also, they announced Star Fox Zero, the next Star Fox game. I heard it plays really weird. Yeah. From what I've seen, I know this is not true, but it looks like the Nintendo 64 version. I know it probably is graphically better, but your brain sort of ups the graphics on its own.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how a couple of Nintendo games have been recently. They don't look like they're current gen.
Sounds bad, but Star Fox I think peaked out at Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you do a space shooting game and then start like making it was perfect because it was on rails.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And I thought that was like self-contained. That was super fun and awesome. And I played the shit out of Star Fox 64.
Yeah.
I think if all of a sudden you kind of turn it into these, Wing Commanders and Space Sims and stuff like that, like then you're going to kind of
lose the magic
of Star Fox. If
yeah.
all of a sudden I can go and, full all dimensions and I can start like doing actual barrel rolls and I'm not just always going forward kind of situation.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying except for the fact that I like Star Fox, but watching this didn't do anything for me. I was just like, yeah, okay. But this was we're going to go through it, but like that's the whole Nintendo conference for me. It's summed up in like okay. Like, I mean, just skip ahead. Like, there's the yarn, there's Yoshi's Yarn.
Yoshi's Yarn, which was announced a long time ago.
It was announced a long time ago. I liked it back then, and now it's just like, okay.
It almost seems outdated now already.
Yeah. So, well, that's the thing, is because, like, it was supposed to be, along with Toad's Treasure Hunt and all these other games where it's just like, yeah, just put it out then. Now I'm bored with Yoshi's Yarn. And
don't show me a game that looks the same. I'm sure I know you had to create more levels and all this other stuff, but it looks exactly the same as the demo you showed me a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And sure, now it's coming out, but you should have waited then. Don't show me back then. I know you had nothing to show back then when the Wii U came out, and that's why you did it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, we need to show the...
Yeah, that's why they showed Zelda. That's why they showed all these games, yeah.
But yeah, at least it hasn't announced... It's October 2016.
Yeah.
So...
But like, Mario Golf...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. October 16th of this year.
Oh, well...
I don't know if that's true. I just wrote October 16th, not sure which one, but...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We don't have a Wii U. Then there's, Mario Golf or Mario Tennis or something
Mario
like that.
Tennis,
like,
yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Right.
Like, don't... These aren't games anymore.
Yeah, and then we got the Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, which we talked about off the air, but it's it's a co-op dungeon crawler on the 3DS. So it's kind of like a remake, or a sequel to like Four Swords, which was good, but you could do that on your own. This you sort of need. I mean, I think you can have AI. I'm not sure, but the whole selling point is supposedly that it's multiplayer.
Yeah.
So.
Children.
It's got to be for children. It's got to be for like the Japanese market. This will do well there, where like everybody has a 3DS and everyone's within range to play multiplayer games. But
every time me and Caitlin have taken our 3DS anywhere and put on Street Pass, we haven't ran into a single person.
No.
I'm not just talking about like going to friends' houses. I'm talking about like going to the mall,
right.
Going to restaurants, whatever. There's no one else who's using a 3DS here. So like, unless you specifically set up. Like, I have two other friends that have a 3DS and we're all getting this game. That is the only time you'll run into it. I don't know, maybe school. Maybe school nowadays, there's kids with 3DSs in their backpacks. Maybe, who cares?
Probably not.
But
they have cell phones.
Yeah, like you said, like I feel like this just isn't... It looks great, but it's not our market.
I feel like the market for it is like E3. Because everybody brings their 3DS because they got to stand in line for an hour to play a game. So that's when everybody has their 3DSs out. So that's when people play together. So I feel like when they announce it at E3, they're like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I want to play multiplayer games. I want to play Zelda right now. But it's like, well, you can only play that once a year for one day. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Next.
Then we have the creme de la creme, the Metroid Prime Federation Force. It's universally been hated so far.
Yeah, it is. Take everything people liked about Metroid, remove that, and make it a sports game.
Right, and I guess they already had showed off and had the sort of that sports ball playable game type a month or two ago, but they didn't have the Metroid label on it. They just pretended like it was a new game. Yeah. People didn't like it then. People even hate it now because now they're saying it's a Metroid game.
Yeah, because basically everyone's like, if this is the if you're taking the Metroid team and you're making them work on this, I will burn your company to the ground.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was not impressed. I have no desire to get this. This is the opposite of making me want to get a Wii U.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's 4-player co-op. Comes out sometime in 2016, maybe.
Yeah, big maybe.
That's all I got for the Nintendo conference.
The Mario Maker we didn't talk about.
Right. Well, I just said that it comes out September 11th.
I mean, like that's the coolest thing that they have, and that's just remake Mario levels and then play them.
Yeah, but I almost rather have that on like a PC or something.
Yeah.
Than I would on the Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, there's some cool stuff that they're talking about implementing into it. Like, for one, you have to be able to beat the level before you can upload it. So you're not just going to have people make like
impossible
levels. Yeah. Obviously, you can be super incredible good and then be able to beat any level and still make it close to impossible. They were kind of hinting that people who have done like Mario Sunshine or stuff like that will make levels and then kind of upload them to the So you'll.
But they didn't actually say that. I think that was just a hype. I think that was a way to be like, hey, we're gonna have good levels here.
Yeah, I think so. It's still tough to say. It looked fun, but at the same time,
I would pay like $10 or $15 for this on a PC.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then I'd play it for that day and maybe another day afterwards, and then I'd just sit on my used shelf list and just show people when they came over. It'd be a show game.
It would.
Check out this cool level I made. They'd play it once, and then I'd just be like, cool, let's play a different game.
Yep.
But yeah, Nintendo.
Those are all the big conferences. I should have had more written down, but I actually ran out of notebook space. But so Rock Band 4, they showed it's playable on the floor. Yep. There's a new freestyle mode, so they sort of showed drum freestyle fills before, but now you can do it with guitar also. So basically, there's like a million notes, and you can just play whatever notes you want. So you can just freestyle guitar solos. It's got a release day of October 6, 2015. There's over 60 plus songs available launch day, plus hundreds, if not thousands, available from previous DLCs, etc. No pricing, I believe.
Pricing did come out.
Oh, it did? I know it came out for Guitar Hero.
Rock Band, the with mic, drums, and guitar.
So the whole band set,
is $150. I think with just a guitar, it's $90. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see what just the game was. That is, I think, what I remember reading.
Yeah. And then the Guitar Hero Live, of course, they waited until they heard the announcement from Rock Band, and then they announced they're coming out October 20th, so 2 weeks after that, and it will be $100. Will be the cheapest one you can get.
Good for them.
Yep. So for the game and the guitar, and they're saying that it's because you're required to get a guitar, you can't get it on its own.
Yeah.
Like you can for Rock Band, and you can't use old instruments like you could for Rock Band. They're saying it's cost more because you're having access to their 24-hour library of music videos that you can play. So not only are they charging more for something that probably not going to use, who wants it? Because they're saying, oh, this is a 24-hour premium service. In 6 to 8 to 12 months, they're going to shut it off for the new game.
Weeks.
Yeah. They're going to be like, hey, sorry, you don't have access to that anymore, but if you want to buy Guitar Hero Live 2, then all of a sudden, magically, you can have access to it again.
Yep. That's... Well, I mean, we've already stated how much we're fans of the Guitar Hero franchise.
And Activision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on them.
And then there was a couple other games that I'm forgetting right now. But
I think we hit all the big ones.
We hit a lot of the big stuff. Let's do an overall recap. How about that? Of some things you're excited for.
Sure.
Or surprises or whatever.
I was... Okay, I'll try and make it quick and concise.
You don't have to.
I'm gonna. Knowing more about Fallout 4 was big for me because that is probably the number one game out of E3 that I will come away with going like, yes, this is always going to be on top of my radar for when it's coming, when I can buy it, how it's going to look, how it's going to play. Like that was like number one. So granted, they announced it before E3, so it wasn't a surprise it's here.
Yeah.
It was more of just like I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, for me, for Fallout 4, I was already sold on it. They would have had to do something to make me not want to buy it.
Yes.
And instead, they just solidified my
that's
excitement.
What it was. Like, the seeing the trailer and being like, there's a Fallout 4, I never was in doubt that it was going to be awful and that I wouldn't buy it. But now, like you said, it just kind of solidifies it. Bethesda, I think, did a lot of things great. I think they showed a lot of cool games. There wasn't... Besides whatever Stronghold or what was that stupid game that they showed? Did they show a shitty game?
Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
But yeah, besides that, I didn't feel like they had really any clunkers.
Yeah.
I thought if anybody won Best of E3 right now, I'd give it to them
because they had like the least amount to show, but everything they did show was pretty great.
Was great.
Yeah.
Xbox, I'm surprised by the backwards compatibility, but that was actually overshadowed by early access, which I thought was a cooler idea. Going into Sony, I mean, Sony hit on all my nostalgic spots.
Yeah, they hit the hype train pretty hard.
They hit the hype train, like Last Guardian. I mean, like we said, it doesn't look like it's the greatest game ever, but I'm sold on it for the hype train.
Yeah.
Shenmue 3, I loved the first two Shenmues.
It hasn't even been started to be made yet.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, the reason it's not up there is because, yes, it's Kickstarter funded.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's still going to be, 2 years, 3 years before it comes out.
Yeah.
So who knows? And Final Fantasy VII, I'm excited because, people have been clamoring for it. I'm excited to see what it becomes, but I'm also kind of skeptical as to, the fine line that they're going to have to walk. Nintendo did nothing for me. EA Mirror's Edge I already knew about.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised. It still looks good, but it looks good, when they showed the trailer or whatever it was before.
Yeah.
I mean, right now there's a lot I really like about E3, and it makes me very excited to have a PC where I can get a lot of the games that are going to be multi-platform.
Right.
But it also makes me think that when these games come out, I might be in a predicament of I might need to get a system. Because if there are games that are very no PC and it's just Xbox One or it's just PlayStation 4, then it just becomes okay, do I care this much about some of these games? Don't
you think though that backwards compatibility makes it that so much easier then for you to then make the transition?
Yeah, I mean, right now, if I was to go buy a system right now, I'd get an Xbox One because I don't need to buy a game. I can play all my 360 games.
Yeah.
And then, if it comes up, later down the line that I want to get a bunch of Xbox One games, great. And Xbox is cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sways me in that decision. But if, let's say, and this is of course hypothetical speaking, let's say Shenmue 3 comes out and it's the fucking greatest game ever and it's PS4 only, and Last Guardian's PS4 only, and Final Fantasy's PS4 only, whatever. And those games, I'm just going based on this E3.
Yeah.
Those games are all must-owns and they're only going to be on one thing. Those games, because they hit my nostalgia factor, would warrant more of a look than, let's say, Halo 5,
Gears of War,
Tomb Raider. Let's say those are only Xbox exclusives. Let's say if you take, those two sections of here are our first party, and I already know that Final Fantasy isn't only PlayStation, and I already know that Shenmue probably won't only be PlayStation. But if I look at those and just based on this E3, I would lean towards PlayStation. But I'm excited. It was a good E3. I know it's not over. There's still days on the floor.
Yeah, for me, looking back, it's there's a lot of games I'm excited for. Almost no new IPs though. There was very few that were even announced, and the ones they did announce were just cinematic trailers. It's not enough to get me excited. No. Apart from some of the indie games for Xbox, like Cuphead, I'm definitely going to look into.
Yep, looks good.
And Tacoma too. But everything that I'm super excited for, I mean, I guess Doom is technically a franchise, so you can't say it's a new game. It's the closest thing to a new game that I'm excited for, though. But obviously, Fallout and Dishonored and Halo and Gears and even Rock Band or Mass Effect or Mirror's Edge, all these things are old games. Even South Park, Ghost Recon, kind of new, but once again, it's not.
Yeah.
There's no game that I'm okay, I'm ready for this new IP. There's no Sunset Overdrive that is completely new. The only games they showed were For Honor or the Yarn game. Or,
yeah, I mean, they showed games, but they were so brief and so quick that it's hard to get any hype.
It's too soon, right? Yeah. It's too soon to know about them. So,
I thought a game we didn't touch on, and they had a game called Firewatch. I can't remember which press conference it was at, but it was just They described it when I read about it later as kind of an adventure meets. A point-and-click adventure meets I don't want to say an Indiana Jones adventure, but that's just how I'm going to kind of describe it, where it's just it sounds really interesting, where it's just here's a mystery that you're kind of solving, because what they show you is you're a guy who's essentially, in these little towers looking out for forest fires, and then turns out that somebody cut the line to the radio, and then you investigate that, and then when you get there, the person on your intercom is just if you're not at the tower, who is? And then it cuts to the camera, and there's somebody wandering around.
What?
Yeah, and then it's that's it for the show. Just initially that intrigues me, but of course I know nothing else besides that little 5-minute thing. Or I'm just that looks cool, has a nice art style to it, looks like it could be fun, but I know nothing else about
Right, yeah, all the conferences really did focus on the blockbuster games because that's
Yeah.
what they had to do. And the indie games or the smaller games they just have probably on the floor somewhere, and if you stumble across them, great.
Yeah.
But they're not going to spend their valuable stage time
it. Nope.
when they need to talk about other games. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I guess Telltale announced a Walking Dead season 2 add-on called Michonne. I think it's 3 episodes, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's
Basically like 400 Days was to the first season, so you have to have at least the first episode of Walking Dead season 2 to be able to buy it. And then I guess it sort of bridges the gaps, or it takes place over 5 of the comic books. It said which ones, I think like 136 to like 141 or something.
Yeah.
But I think they haven't just showed a screenshot. They haven't even showed anything yet.
It was a screenshot and basically the box.
If I get it, it's because I have every other Telltale game at this point.
Because you love Game of Thrones so much.
And so we'll see. It could be interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not automatically sold though, like I was a year or two ago on Telltale.
No.
Before it was like Telltale game, yeah, I'll buy it. Transformer Telltale game, sure, I'll try it out. But now it's like, no, I need you to show me that it's good first.
I need to have a couple episodes come out, and then people tell me like, yeah, return to form Telltale. Then I'm like, okay, I'm back in.
Yeah.
I think the only Telltale thing that I would buy immediately is Wolf Among Us season 2.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board for that.
That I'd be like, yes.
Don't tell me anything about it because I want to be surprised. I want to just buy this right now.
But like Walking Dead or Marvel or whatever other shit that they're working on, Minecraft, all that stuff, I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be great, and even then.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm excited for video games.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this Christmas. I'm excited for the spring and next Christmas. I don't know why there's so many games coming out that other than Batman, I don't know of any games that I'm going to buy between now and like holiday season.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know if there's anything planned to be released. Gotta start saving up my money though.
Batman gotta get that controller.
Yeah, that's true.
You can get that controller.
Does that have a release date yet?
I don't know.
Okay. Gonna get so good though.
With that controller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to talk more about Halo, but I just like that it seems like the first game they did, Halo 4, 343, like tried to focus on like the original trilogy, and this is like they took lessons from ODST and Reach as far as having squads and multiple characters and things like that, and dialogue between the characters. Like, seems like they're finally catching up to probably what Bungie's next game would have been after Reach. But looks good. I want it to be good. I'm still super, super cautiously optimistic about it, but multiplayer was fun. I know that at the very least I'll get to play the multiplayer. Yeah, I mean, and for the Gears of War remake, I'm more excited for playing the story again than I am for the multiplayer, even though I'm going to spend probably a lot of time playing multiplayer. Yeah, it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year.
Hopefully.
Yep, hopefully.
All right, before we sign off, we're going to do our Game of the Month drawing.
Oh, wow, right now? Even before we've done the first Game of the Month episode?
Before we do the Game of the Month episode, which, truth be told, we shot these out of order. No one can get mad at us. Because E3 came along, and obviously that takes precedent. Are
you sure you don't want to wait until after that airs? Because we want them to hear what we're gonna do. Like they need to know the format of like, hey, how we're gonna talk about it, what we're gonna say before they choose their selection. Plus, maybe somebody will respond by then after that episode comes out.
I don't know if we're gonna get any responses.
Fine. Well, we can do it now.
I have in this box a list of so many games.
Mainly suggestions from Phil.
Suggestions from me, suggestions from you, and suggestions from our one person who retweeted us.
Yeah.
Denny D. Here, you can hear it, microphone.
Yep. That's proof.
You can pick.
All right.
One game.
Well, since 66% of them are Phil's games.
Yeah.
The next game is The Escapist.
Okay. It is a PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 game. You play as 8-bit prison escapees. I think you only play as one prison escapee.
Right, but yeah, the design is 8-bit.
Yeah. Everyone, you have a month from...
Plus a week.
Plus a week.
Plus another week.
Sure, whatever. You have sometime in July.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the end of July. We will talk about this game. But you can start playing it now.
Yep. If you haven't already.
Yeah. And if you have already, then you can just sit on your hands. You're a dick.
And then send in your game request for the third installment of... I don't know what we're going to call it.
Game of the Month Adventure Time.
Game of the Month, Adventure of the Month, number 1, Happy Forever.
Yep. All right.
All right, guys.
I think that's...
Yep. Thanks for listening to our E3. As we sort of mentioned, next week will be an episode all about 2 specific games. First, we talked about
Massive
Chalice, and then we spent the rest of the episode talking about
Life is Strange.
episode 1 and 2.
Yep.
So there is sort of a full episode before we talk about those 2 games. So if you don't want spoilers, you don't have to worry about that. That's at the very end. So we'll let you know in the episode.
Yeah, basically Massive Chalice is hard to spoil. So we talked about that first.
Yeah. But there was other stuff we talked about before that even.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for listening. Rate and review us on iTunes.
Skippity doo.